singing Jaya Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jannavalabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Jannavalabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Vajadana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vajadana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from.
The friend of ours tuning in for the first time in the class today. We've been chanting and reading everybody Bhagavatam for maybe one.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So we're reading today from 10:24:18. Tasmat sampujaye karma svabhavashta svakarma krit anjasa yena varteta tad evasya hi devatam. Tasmat sampujaye karma Svabhavashta Svakarma Krit Anjasayena Varteta Tad Evasya Hidaivatam. Anybody else want to chant?
Tasmat Sampojaya Karma Svabhavastha Svakarma Anjasayena Vartekam Tateva Syapithaya.
Thank you. Synonyms: Tasmat,
Tasmat,
therefore.
therefore,
Sampujayet,
Sampujaya
one should fully worship. Karma,
Karma
his prescribed activity.
is prescribed activity.
Swabhava,
Svabhava
in the position corresponding to his own conditioned nature.
in the position that is corresponding to the whole condition.
Sta, remaining.
Remain
Svakarma,
Svakarma
his own prescribed duty.
is all prescribed.
Krit,
Great
performing.
performance.
Anjasa,
The sun
without difficulty.
without
Yena,
Yena
by which.
by which
Varteta,
Varteta
one lives. Tat,
Tat
that.
that
Eva,
Eva
certainly.
certainly
Asya,
Asya
his.
is
He,
we
indeed.
indeed
Daivatam,
Devata
worshipable deity.
worship.
Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jaya.
Therefore, one should seriously worship work itself. A person should remain in the position corresponding to his nature and should perform his own duty. Indeed, that by which we may live nicely is really our worshipable deity. So we're going to read the purport, but just disclaimer, don't take that seriously. Krishna is speaking, and anyways, we'll read the purport and then we'll discuss, but this is not actually the philosophy that we want to follow. Krishna is proposing karma mimamsa philosophy right now. Purport. Lord Krishna here proposes the modern, if absurd, philosophy that our work or occupation is really God and that we should therefore simply worship our work. Upon close scrutiny, we observe that our work is nothing more than the interaction of the material body with material nature, as Lord Krishna himself states in a more serious mood in the Bhagavad Gita 3:28, Guna Guneshu Vartanta. Karma Mimamsa philosophy accepts that good activity in this life will give us a better next life. If this is true, there must be some type of conscious soul different from the body. And if that is the case, why should a transcendental soul worship the interaction of the temporary body with material nature? If the words sampujayat karma here mean that one should worship the laws of karma governing our activities, then one may astutely ask what it means to worship laws, and indeed what might be the origin of such laws and who is maintaining them. To say that laws have created or are maintaining the world is a meaningless proposition, since there is nothing about the nature of a law that indicates it could generate the existential situation it is supposed to govern. In fact, worship is meant for Krishna himself, and this real conclusion will be clearly revealed in this chapter. Please join me in praying to our Parampara and Radha and Krishna and everyone, Lord Chaitanya, everyone. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Chalakaya Chakshu Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upagadam Mayam Dadadishva Brandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Radharkamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Ragana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagalita Shri Vishakam Janusha He Krishna Kaduna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jayapite Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sri Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakapata Vibhischa Kripa Sindhu Devicha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamine Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtatara Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Thank you all so much for being here at the Srimad Bhagavatam class. And please, I beg each and every one of your blessings, your mercy, your prayers, your kindness, to be able to recite Srimad Bhagavatam according to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra for my own purification and upliftment in Krishna consciousness, and as a service to all of you all, to increase your love for Srimad Bhagavatam in your heart. And since Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different than Krishna, increasing your love for Srimad Bhagavatam is increasing your love for Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So this is such a beautiful pastime. And I was getting so excited reading Krishna book and Srimad Bhagavatam, preparing for this class. And basically, you know, we won't get so much into all the details because other classes have talked about it. But right after the pastime of the Brahmana's wives being delivered by bringing Krishna so many beautiful foodstuffs, Krishna actually stays in that village of the Brahmanas. And then Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherd boys, they're getting ready for a sacrifice. And what they're doing is they're getting ready for the Indra Puja, or sacrifice to Lord Indra, since he is the god of rain, and they would like to please him and get rain so that they can do their agricultural duties, because they are Vaishyas and they take care of the land and they take care of the cows. And Krishna, he goes up to his father Nanda Maharaj and is, you know, basically like, Father, like, why are you doing this sacrifice? What is this sacrifice all about? Is it like religious, or is it ritualistic? You know, you should never keep any secrets from family members. You should basically tell me everything. And so Nanda Maharaj explains to Krishna, you know, that they're performing the sacrifice to please Indra and to get the rains, etc. And Krishna is just so funny. He just like doesn't have it. And it explains in the Krishna book and the Srimad Bhagavatam that he is going to give this little monologue basically to Nanda Maharaj. And this monologue is going to convince the cowherd men and women to give up their sacrifice to Indra and instead perform the Govardhan Puja, which it will describe later in the chapter, has since then become absolutely mandatory for Vaishnavas in the Hare Krishna movement, and that we must every year perform this beautiful Govardhan Puja ceremony. And that also, it says later in the chapter that devotees can also take stones from Govardhan Hill and worship those stones as a deity, as being non-different than Krishna, and make great spiritual progress. And that is also recommended. Prabhupada says that in Krishna book, which is very, very beautiful. And so it explains in the Srimad Bhagavatam that the main purpose for Krishna having this dialogue with Nanda Maharaj is to, he's very, very eager to have this pastime of doing the Govardhan Puja and lifting Govardhan Hill, because it's going to be this beautiful festival, basically, of Krishna getting to be under the hill with all of his beloved Vrajbasis, because normally he has duties during the day. He sees the gopis at night and at noon, and when he goes to Radhakund, and he also goes off with the cowherd boys. So he's not with all the residents of Vrindavan at once all the time. He's with these residents of Vrindavan, and then those residents of Vrindavan, and these residents of Vrindavan, like that, depending on what time of day it is. So it's actually going to be a really, really great festival to be under the hill all together, all the time, 7 days and 7 nights straight. It's going to be this amazing festival. So he's very, very eager to get that festival happening. And also he's very, very eager to curb the pride of Indra. So Indra is a devotee. He is a demigod who has a lot of responsibility, but as it's seen multiple times in the Bhagavatam, he has this material tendency towards having pride. And he was having pride, thinking he was very great and having expectation to receive this Indra Puja. Therefore, Krishna wanted to reduce his pride. And why did he want to reduce his pride? He wanted to reduce his pride because he loves him, because he's a devotee, and Krishna loves all of his devotees, and he knows that pride isn't good for a devotee. That actually a devotee needs to be Trinadapi Sunichena, Tarodapi Sahishna, Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sudahari. One needs to be more humble than a blade of grass. And when one is more humble than a blade of grass, and they wear that verse of Lord Chaitanya's around their neck, they can actually chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So because Krishna loves Indra, he wanted what was best for Indra. He wanted Indra to have pure devotional service to him and not to maintain this pride, which is actually just hurting him. We often think that our anartas are very near and dear to our heart, and we don't want to let them go, but actually they're just hurting us. And we would be much better off asking Krishna to take them away. So Krishna starts actually speaking to Nanda Maharaj, and in this section, he's propounding karma mimamsa philosophy. So as it says in the purport, Krishna isn't seriously telling them that this is the philosophy that they should follow. He's in a very joking mood. He's more serious, like in the Bhagavad Gita, as this purport was saying. And he's going to, this whole dialogue of propounding karma mimamsa philosophy is going to lead up ultimately to saying that you don't need to offer this sacrifice to Indra. Who you really should worship is the Brahmanas, the cows, and Govardhan Hill, because Govardhan Hill is the greatest devotee of Krishna and is providing the grasses for the cows, and we should worship Govardhan Hill and the cows and the Brahmanas, but mostly Govardhan Hill. So what is karma mimamsa philosophy? Karma mimamsa philosophy is basically atheistic philosophy with a belief in reincarnation. So in this verse, Krishna is saying that one should worship work itself. So he's saying that our work, because remember, this is an atheistic philosophy, which is just so absurd that Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, who wants us all to surrender to him and worship him unflinchingly, unmotivated, uninterrupted, is telling us that actually, the real God is work, and that by which we may live nicely is really our worshipable deity. So basically our material sense gratification is our worshipable deity, and our work, which provides our finances, which provides our, living situation, is what we should actually be worshiping. And he also says that a person should remain according to his nature and perform his own duty. Now, the first thing that I thought of when I was reading this verse is, other than the point of worshiping work and that which we may live nicely is really our worshipable deity, one could say it sounds a little bit like the Bhagavad Gita, like that, in different sections of the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna is saying that one should not give up their dharma, their occupation, and one shouldn't, because remember, the whole Bhagavad Gita was spoken that Arjuna Prabhu was saying he doesn't want to do his duty of fighting the battle of Kurukshetra. He wants to run away and go to a forest and, quote unquote, be a renunciate. And the Bhagavad Gita is Krishna telling him, no, that's not it. Like, don't run away from your duty. You have to fight. You have to fight. You have to do this battle. But because it is your nature and this is your duty, and you have to stay according to your nature and stay according to your duty. But here's the difference. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that, but you change your consciousness and you do it for me. That you manmana bhava bhakta, that you worship me, you offer your obeisances to me, you offer your homage unto me, that you accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead as everything, and you bow down to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you realize that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the worshipable deity, the only worshipable deity, and that you give everything to God, and that you do your duties with the right to perform your action, but without a right for the fruits of your action. So you perform your duty, but not expecting any results back from performing your duty. You're giving those results to Krishna. That is your offering to Krishna. So that's what the Bhagavad Gita is saying. Ultimately surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it is not saying, it's saying that you should perform your duty, you should perform your work, but the Bhagavad Gita is definitely not saying that you should worship your work or that your work is your deity. That's what this is saying. So it's absurd. And later on, also, Krishna is really going to be making the point of that we do not need to worship demigods. That he gets into a whole spiel about it, about how, they're obliged to offer the results of your karmas anyways. So there's really no need to worship them because they have to give you what you are destined to get according to your karma. But he is going to ultimately say that, yeah, instead of worshiping the demigods, just worship Govardhan Hill. And who is Govardhan Hill? Govardhan Hill is non-different than Krishna. But in this section, he's saying this ridiculous philosophy. And the purport is really, really cool. It really, really breaks it down. I really like it a lot. It's saying that if we really look at it, we see that our work is nothing more than the interaction of the material body with material nature. Okay. So, and that karma mimamsa, it accepts that if we do good work in our previous life, we'll have good things happen to us in this life. And then the purport continues to say, okay, so if we recognize the fact that there's multiple lives and that something that we do in our previous life can affect our reactions in this life, then there must be a soul different from the body, right? Because reincarnation. So it's saying that, okay, if that's the case, if there's a soul different from a body, then why would that transcendental soul worship the interaction of the temporary body with material nature, which is actually what work is? Work is just the interaction of the material body with material nature. So I thought that was very interesting. And then it's also saying that The words sampujayat karma here mean that one should worship the laws of karma governing our activities. So if that's the case, then one may ask, well, what does it mean to worship laws? And what is the origin of such laws? And what might be, who might be maintaining these laws? Right? So Krishna's Karma Mimamsa philosophy is saying that the laws are the all in all. But that's absolutely ridiculous, because who created the laws? The laws, basically what it goes on to say, it says to say that laws have created or maintaining the world is a meaningless proposition, since there is nothing about the nature of a law that indicates it could generate the existential situation it is supposed to govern. So the laws in and of themselves, did they create this world? Are the laws the source? Are the laws maintaining? No. And that's why it goes on to give the conclusion that worship is meant for Krishna, because who actually created those laws? Krishna. There is a God that created those laws. The laws themselves didn't create the world. They don't maintain the world, but God created those laws. And so if God is the one who created those laws, and God is also the one who is maintaining those laws, then God is actually the one that is meant for the worship, not the work like Krishna is propounding. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Like how it's like breaking it down in this purport. And then it says, the last thing that it says in this purport, and this real conclusion will be clearly revealed in this chapter. And that's what the whole, I was reading the chapter and I was reflecting on like the whole like main lesson of this whole pastime. And that's what it is. It is, look at your life and see all of the different things that you're putting time and energy and worship into, actually. Because the bridge bosses, they're actually pure devotees. This is all Krishna's pastime. But still, if we look at it like objectively, like what lesson can we get from this? The bridge bosses, they're pure devotees of Krishna, yet they're putting this time and energy into performing this Indra puja to please Indra to get rain, a demigod. So this whole pastime is Krishna like, hey, you guys, like, I'm here. I'm living with you. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is living with you. You don't need to do that. You don't need to worry or be in anxiety like your needs aren't going to be met. And you don't need to go and approach these other people, these other demigods for your maintenance. Just completely focus on watering the root of the tree, completely focus on worshiping me, completely focus on giving everything to me, completely focus on what do they end up doing? They end up cooking mountains and mountains of food. You know, they just bring all of the cows, all the bridge bosses, circumambulate Govardhan Hill, which anyone on this call who has not gone to Vrindavan and circumambulated Govardhan Hill, just sign off of this class right now, buy a ticket and leave. Go. And it's really just like amazing and life-changing, doing that, circumambulating Govardhan Hill. So that's what they do. And then they cook a mountain of food and offer it to Giriraj, to Govardhan Hill, who eats all of it and then says, Aniyor, give me more. And then they offer a tulsi leaf, and then he's satisfied because he's satisfied with the tulsi leaf. That's how dear tulsi is to Krishna. So I was thinking, like, you know, we here at Bhakti Center are living with the Supreme Personality of Godhead also. Radha Muralidhar is here. And for those of you who, live at homes and have deities or pictures of deities, or even if you don't, Krishna is living with you also, the Supreme Person. But if you don't have at least a picture, you should get one, and you should make an altar in your house, because we also shouldn't be sentimental, like, oh yeah, like I don't have a picture. I'm not like actively trying to see how Krishna is with me. I'm not like offering my food to Krishna. Like, we should get deities or get pictures and create an altar in our house and offer all of our food to Krishna and offer our obeisances to Krishna and worship Krishna. So we should actively make it so that we are living with Krishna. And then when we are living with Krishna and we consciously choose to look at our lives and see, where am I like having anxiety and feeling like I'm going to get my shelter from things or people or pursuits separate from Krishna? And how can I fully trust Krishna and offer everything to Krishna and put Krishna in the center of my life? That's the whole lesson of this pastime. And it doesn't mean that we don't have relationships with people and share love, and it doesn't mean that we quit our jobs, and it doesn't mean that we don't go to the doctor if we're sick, and it doesn't mean that we don't like take care of material things. But we have to, while taking care of material things, ask, like, where is our consciousness and where are we internally taking shelter? Because Krishna is the only person who is the only person who's going to really give us everything. And of course, also Krishna's devotees. We receive Krishna's love and mercy through Krishna's devotees. So our relationships with devotees are very, 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 very special. And we receive Krishna's love through our relationships with Krishna's devotees. Okay, I feel like I could talk a lot more, but we have about 10 minutes left. So I wanted to see if maybe we should stop here and open it up for comments, reflections, corrections, questions. We can start with anyone from the in-person audience, Adi Push Prabhu, Gorshran Prabhu, Gopal, anyone.
Hare Krishna, wonderful class, perfectly presented. You made the point 5 or 6 different ways that it's not just what we do, but who we're doing it for. And if Krishna says in one situation to do this, we do that. He asked Abraham to kill his son. Abraham, doesn't make sense, doesn't seem fair. Innocent child. It's different from what you told me before, but okay, Lord, if there's anything that you ask me to do, then that is actually the principle of religion. Bhagavad Gita breaks that down. He has Arjuna, Krishna has Arjuna breaking so many rules. And here he's preaching some, atheistic, bogus philosophy, but they're listening to Krishna, so that's perfect. So we have that access to the real appropriate activity. And it was yesterday, a few days ago, one of our guests brought us a children's Bible. And there's a story in there about how people stopped worshiping the Lord because there was this evil queen, and she destroyed all the temples and was killing all the leadership preachers. And she established this worship of this demon Baal. And she had 400 priests that were worshiping Baal. So the Lord asked this prophet, think it was Ezekiel, Elijah, to go there and say, no, your worship is bogus. You're not worshiping the Supreme Lord. And he challenged them, and they went up on the mountain and they built, he said, told the 400 prophets of Baal, build this altar and put an offering on there, and let's call on Baal to consume the offering. So they were calling on Baal to consume the offering on the altar, and nothing was happening. And the prophet was saying, well, maybe he's asleep. Maybe he went away. Maybe he took a break. Maybe he took a day off. You know, they were cutting themselves with knives, trying to elicit the demon to come and take the offering. And then he poured water on the altar and on his altar, and he said, you know, Lord, please consume. The Lord came in and consumed the offering and the altar and the stones and the water and everything. And so we see that Krishna doesn't take a day off. So there's never a time when we can't be doing what's correct. He doesn't take a break, right? He doesn't take a coffee break. It's like there for us, accessible, pleasable, and no matter who we are, no matter where we are, we do our humble best. The Lord is pleased. So you've given us the recipe for success. Lord, what do you want me to do in this situation? And I'm here for you. Wow, Madan Gopal gave a class the other day, and he said, if you even once in your life say, Krishna, I'm yours. Did you hear that the other day? He said, if you even once in your life say that, even casually, the Lord hears that, and then you become fearless. What? Did you hear him say that? Then you become fearless. Nothing can stop you. Nothing will bother you, no matter what other people think, no matter whether you look like what you're doing is a success or a disaster. If you say, Lord, I'm yours, and you sincerely try to please Krishna, no problem. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Well, where that comes from is it comes from the pastime of Lord Ram when Vibhishan comes to him and he says, you know, I'm yours. And actually some of the Vanaras, the monkeys, including Hanuman, they're like, kill him, he's a demon, he's the brother of Lord Ram, like we can't trust Ravana, sorry. He's the brother of Ravana, like you can't trust him. He's going to turn against us. And Lord Ram, you know, he got very, very, very serious and said, no, if someone once comes to me and says, my Lord, I am yours. From this day forward, from this moment forward, I am yours. I will accept him. And he said, I will accept Vibhishan. And then he said, even if Ravana stole his wife, Sita, you know, and threatened to also cut her up and kill her and eat her if she didn't submit to him. He said, even if Ravana came to me and said that, I would accept him and I would make him the king of Ayodhya, I believe he said. So this is the mercy of Krishna. I want to open it up to people, unless there's anyone else in person who'd like to say something. We can open it up for online if there's any questions or comments.
A beautiful class, Champakalata. I have a question. You were describing how one can become Krishna conscious and liberated and transcendental by offering their duty, their dharma, their nature to Krishna. Is there an instance in the Shastra where Krishna tells somebody to change their dharma or give up their dharma in service to Krishna? Or it's always through dharma one can serve Krishna, through their own nature. Or maybe there is an instance where Krishna says, forget your nature, just go for it. Something like that. I don't know. I hope I'm making sense. And yeah, it's an open question. Let's see. Maybe Guru Sharan.
You didn't hear the question? The question is there an example in Shastra? Because we were talking about how by following your dharma, your occupation, your nature, but giving that to Krishna, like that you can have devotion. So is there an example in Shastra where Krishna tells someone to go against their nature? Yeah, against their nature.
Even if it tells
I'm-
to that person, it does not mean it applies in our own life. These kind of questions should be asked as questions.
They can't hear.
Not speculation.
There's 22.
I'm going to repeat what he's saying. I'm going to repeat what he's saying.
Like even if we say someone to go against, it can be very particular to that, but you cannot derive a lesson from that. Like,
Yeah, Gorshran, he's saying,
neither the Lord is masochistic, he just don't want us to suffer.
do you want to come?
Yeah.
Please.
22 people that can hear you speak or not.
Yeah, this much is said.
Yeah, he's saying that even if there was an example in Shastra, that we cannot think that that applies to us, and that we shouldn't speculate, and that's why we should go to the spiritual master and speak to the spiritual master. You know, we shouldn't be looking in Shastra for, is there a loophole, or is there a way for me to think that I don't have to follow my nature? Basically is what you're saying, you know, that we should look at what is generally being said in Shastra and follow that. And that's why we should speak to the spiritual master and have personal instructions on our life. We really shouldn't speculate. Did I repeat correctly? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Champakalata, Gorasharan. Thank you.
We heard a class by Rasanath Prabhu. Rasanath was really helped me to hear that, because Krishna says, Sarva Dharma, and abandon all other dharmas and surrender to me. Abandon all other dharma. And he gave the example, he said, because all other dharmas are compromised. For example, the example he gave was Duryodhana. He had a son. Dhritarashtra had a son, Duryodhana. And the dharma of a father is to protect the son, to care for the son, to benefit the son, to please the son. But in order to please his son, he went against what Krishna wanted to do. So Krishna says, you may have the dharma of this, the dharma of that, the dharma of that. But at one level, although you may start off by doing things that you feel comfortable doing, sooner or later, Krishna might ask, just like the gopis said, oh, just give us the dust, take the dust of our feet, put it on Krishna's head. We don't care if we go to hell. What does Krishna say? That, you know, devotee Narayana Parasati Nakatashan Bhivati Svarga Varga Narkesh. A devotee doesn't care whether they go to heaven or hell. They just want to know what Krishna wants them to do. So the dharma, I feel like this, I'm like this is what I'm comfortable with. Sooner or later, there's going to be a Kurukshetra moment where Krishna might say, in this case, kill your teacher. In this case, fight against your relatives. But do it for me, like Mataji was saying. If that's what Krishna, we're surrendering to a person, we're not surrendering to a list of rules. The lawgiver is higher than the law. I'm sorry to talk so long. Great.
Yeah, I'm sure if Krishna told the gopis to go fight the Kurukshetra war, they would go, right? They wouldn't say, oh, it's not our dharma, it's not in our nature. They would go. Gorasharan, is that accurate? Would the gopis fight in the war?
Here he comes. Gorasharan's coming.
Finally, I got him to come.
He said that I'm sure if Krishna told the gopis to go fight the battle of Kurukshetra, they would go, even though it's not their nature. Is that correct, Gorasharan?
Smiling.
Jai.
The
Gorasharan.
principle is the devotees are surrendered to Krishna because of their love. So, like, I don't think the Lord would put anyone in an unnecessarily weird situation. everything that he does with the gopis or with other devotees, especially with the Nityasiddhas, is for the sake of enjoyment of rasa. So the principle for the conditioned soul is, okay, I need to surrender my tendency, the false ego, and understand and identify myself as servant of Krishna. So that applies differently to every person. So that needs to be taken guidance from Siksha and Diksha gurus. So the idea is to surrender our separate identity. That is the main thing.
Thank you, Garshan Prabhu. Yeah, Krishna will not put us in a weird position. I really like that point. Thank you, Champakalata. Great class. Okay, it's darshan time. If you can, please turn on your camera. Smile. Yes, thank you. Give Krishna a smile, not us. Okay, thank you very much. Good seeing everybody. William, Benicia, Stephanie, Amrita Kishori Didi. Always beautiful for Krishna. Mangi. Sundar Nandaji, also beautiful for Krishna. Scarlett, Hare Krishna. Good seeing you. Bruce Prabhu, Dana, Krishna's Radharani, Angel, Henry Prabhu, Aaron, Sharmila, Leslie, Devi, Domi. Thank you very much for participating in this class so steadily. We love you dearly, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.